we're starting well. Our recruiting numbers are coming up. Secretary Hegseth is talking to everyone, not just the generals, but I hear that he's talking to enlisted. He believes that no one has monopoly on the truth. Secretary Hegseth is a storyteller himself, has gone on and he has made his previous career going and talking to everyone, trying to find the truth and not looking at any one source of it. And that is why he's able to move so quickly. I've spoken with people in the administration who have a laser focused, without getting tunnel vision, on what it's going to take to make sure that our service members have the resources that they need to fight, win our nation's wars, and come back home safely. But making sure that we are able to sustain the fight and then make sure that we're prepared to fight the wars of the future. When you see the changing nature of war, we could find ourselves in a World War I style stalemate if we do not retain and maintain the technological edge on the battlefield and maintain our air supremacy, and also make sure that we can project our power with our Navy. The Secretary of War is also working into the new frontiers, making sure that we are able to integrate space and cyber into the new way of fighting. America needs to focus on the things that will keep us safe. We've been lulled into a false sense of security. And Secretary Hegseth, who's been to war, recognizes the great investment and sacrifice that's required, and he's going to make that sacrifice on the front end so that my sons don't have to make the sacrifice in the future.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. Hit subscribe. Please click subscribe wherever you are right now, whether it's Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you stream. Just hit subscribe. It's free, and that way you never miss an episode. Today, I am pretty psyched because this guest is someone I've been following, watching from afar for a long time. Congressman John James out of Michigan is a remarkable person. And yeah, it's a little, it reveals about me that I appreciate hard workers, patriots, people who believe as I do in the American dream. Listen to this guy. He's got a bachelor's of science from West Point, okay? A master's from Penn State in supply chain management and information systems, a master's of business from the University of Michigan, commissioned aviation officer, served in the U.S. Army, Ranger qualified Apache helicopter pilot, commanded 2 Apache platoons, and later served as a company executive, earned the Air Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, and Combat Action Badge, and now he's a congressman. And he's running for governor of Michigan. I've always said this guy has the right stuff. Now you're going to find out why. Congressman John James is next. Congressman John James, I have wanted to meet you for so long. I'm such a big admirer, and I hate to start a podcast with this whole, goo goo gaga love fest, but you have done so much in a short time of life. And I love achievers. I love people who work really hard and are fearless. And that's what you seem to be. And now you're running for governor in Michigan, which I find really exciting. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great now, Michelle, because now I have that recording of you saying that, and I'm going to share it with my brother as soon as possible, because we've been watching you for a minute, and we so admire the work that you've done over the years and your courage recently to be that voice, to be that light, and to be on your show is an honor. I'm blessed, and I'm excited to chat today.
Oh, I am too. Before we get to Michigan and what Michiganders need and want from their next governor, let me just add, your background is pithy. It is full. It is rich. And then you get to Congress. And I've talked to other Congress people who say, gosh, I got here. And I say, I can't believe I'm here. And then they go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. And so I wonder what it's been like for you as an incredibly worldly and well-educated human who's been all over the place and done a lot. How do you feel about Congress now? I have often told you about my friends at besthotgrill.com. They are doing something they rarely do, which is to hold a sale on their Solaire infrared grills. From November 24th through December 5th, they're offering a 25% discount off their Solaire Anywhere and Solaire Everywhere portable infrared grills. These, I got to tell you, are the perfect gift for a college student, a tailgater, someone who loves to boat, an RVer, a picnicker, or just a foodie, or for you. Don't you deserve the best under the tree this season? Also through December 5th, when you purchase a 27-inch or larger Solaire infrared grill, you will receive for free a stainless steel griddle and a quality USA made cover to protect your investment. That's up to a $650 value. Now imagine not only grilling juicy and tasty food, but also making eggs, pancakes, smash burger, fajitas, pizza, anything you would like on your free professional style griddle. Go to besthotgrill.com to learn more about USA made Solaire infrared grills and their Black Friday Cyber Monday sale. That's besthotgrill.com. Buy Solaire infrared grills on sale through December 5th at besthotgrill.com. As an incredibly worldly and well-educated human who's been all over the place and done a lot, how do you feel about Congress now?
Well, Congress is a special, special place. It is something that was founded in compromise. I think that it was developed with divine inspiration. And I think that we would do well to get back to the truth, to get back to that core, and to remember that we are a constitutional republic, to remember that we have a dark world history and we have a dark human nature. And America was founded as a result of learning lessons from the past. We understand that it's we the people who give the government its power, not the other way around. And recognizing that we have an awesome duty to continue our service is what animates what I do every single day. I work with some pretty talented people in Washington, D.C., and having a Republican majority, actually getting things done. These are things that are really cool, like being able to execute the one big beautiful bill, being able to get that across the finish line in record time, being able to vote to keep the government open so that we can continue to keep our promise to the American people on this past month. Sadly, we still have some people on the other side of the aisle who we need to convince, but it's okay. It's okay. We're going to continue to work to make this a more perfect union to serve the people who sent us there in the first place.
Well, I hope by the time this podcast drops, we will have an open government. But in the meantime, you mentioned the one big beautiful bill, and there are a lot of people who point to that bill and blame it for the situation that we currently find ourselves in. And they talk about, cuts to Medicare and Medicaid and health care for everyone. And it seems to me that we had this Affordable Care Act passed under President Barack Obama and Obamacare. It was supposed to solve a lot of problems in the healthcare industry. But if the numbers that I see are correct, healthcare costs have only gone up. And and they have to keep providing these subsidies and tax credits for people on Obamacare. So I'm unclear, and I'm wondering if you can simplify it for us, how this, the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, it is causing more problems than it seems to have solved.
It's causing more harm than good, and it's turning out to be a massive payday for insurance companies that are reporting billion-dollar every year top lines, and people still feel like they're squeezed. That's unacceptable. When you have a healthcare system that's so terrible that a healthcare executive, a father, can be shot down in the middle of a street, and a lot of people celebrate that tragedy. That's an indication that the healthcare system has gone wrong. It needs to be reformed. It needs to work for people. And among the things that I'm doing in Congress is working on bills that increase transparency for prices, increase transparency for hospital stays, so you have the power, that it can't be cloaked from you, lowering prescription drug prices, making sure that we hold hospitals and insurance companies accountable, making sure you hold these PBMs accountable, these pharmacy benefit managers that are just another ruse to continue to siphon more money out of hardworking American people. We don't have a healthcare system in this country, sadly, Michelle. We have a sick care system in this country. Everything from our food to the drugs that they continue to pump into our bodies are making things worse. And until we peel back the cloak that the powerful the lobbyists have put over the American people. Until we return transparency and the ability for people to make their own decisions back to the American people, then we're heading down a dark road. Those are the types of things that I was talking about that I'm proud to work with people on. And I have a number of even bipartisan bills that we're working through, because making sure that everybody has the ability to have affordable, accessible, quality health care are things that is super important to all of us.
There's so many layers to that healthcare onion, and it strikes me that it's kind of similar to what's happened to higher education. For example, once you had these government entities getting involved in student loans and helping, it seemed like it gave license for the universities and colleges to jack up their prices. Oh, we're going to get paid. We can increase tuition because you know what? The government's going to loan all that money and they're going to pay for it. And we don't need to worry about it. It seems like the same thing is going on in healthcare. And the more you have government involvement, the further away it becomes from the individual, like you said. So transparency seems like something really basic. Like if I go to the hospital, I should know item for item where my money is going. But when you have the insurance company come in and say, oh, but don't worry about it because it's going to be lower if we pay it. Well, what do I really know there? All I know is there's a price, there's an insurance company that kicks in, and I'm left with the rest, but I don't really know if it's a fair price. I'm just coming at it from a really basic consumer point of view.
Michelle, you hit the nail right on the head. I don't trust a government that doesn't trust me. I don't trust a business that doesn't trust me. As an American citizen, I should be trusted to make my own medical decisions. And so when you take that away from me by saying I'm going to play a shell game behind the scenes to try to bleed you for as much money as possible, and most commonly when you look at the pharmaceutical companies, most of their money comes from federal research dollars, but we pay the highest prescription drug costs in the world right here in America. When you look at these colleges and universities, most of their money comes from federal dollars, but we still have students who are struggling with student loans with no accountability to these universities that are in this arms race where it's a race to the bottom. You have these insurance companies that are overwhelmingly getting paid by the taxpayer, and people feel like their quality of care access are going backwards. This is designed throwing good money after bad, and the first thing we need to do is we need to return the power to the people. As an overused term, but it cannot be overstated. And you do that by increasing transparency in the costs of doing healthcare, the costs of education, and then you hold these massive, big organizations accountable to the individuals that they are supposed to be serving.
It's interesting because sometimes people want the power and sometimes people don't. Like it seems to me on the Democrat side, they've sold this, hey, yes, power to the people, but we will take care of you. Mm-hmm. And you can rely on us to get things done for you and to pay your medical bills and to pay your student loans. And that sounds really good. Or in the case of Zohran Mamdani in New York, I'm going to pay for your childcare and your buses and all your transportation. That sounds really good. But that's never a good idea because that leaves the decision making to government. And like you said, how am I supposed to trust a government that doesn't think I can handle myself?
That's right. I mean, look around the world. Believe your own eyes. Please go out there on your own. Find a monopoly that has ever worked for individuals. Go look for yourself. Find a communist society that's ever worked for the people. Find a government that's ever gotten more powerful and people who've gotten more prosperous and more free. You won't find it. You won't find it. America was founded that we have the power and we put a constitutional republic in place to protect those rights. When the American people continue voting for one party that believes that they have the solutions, that the party has better solutions than the people, then we're heading in a different direction. Self-determination, agency have always been things that we have gotten from God. These are truths that we hold self-evident. All men are created equal. We're endowed by our Creator certain inalienable rights that are among them life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And these are things that we have for us as individuals. If you have a government that's seeking to step in and say, I'm going to take those rights and responsibilities because I know how to make these decisions better than you, that's the wrong answer. Yeah. So the fundamentals, the start, the very basics is making sure that we have a government that trusts the people.
Amen to that. Now, a lot of people will point to the current president, the occupant at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and say he's a tyrant, he's an authoritarian. I don't see the evidence for that. I understand it's fun to shout those things and to say no kings. And again, it's so silly because if you had a king, you wouldn't be able to protest. But, it's pretty basic,
ding,
right?
ding. Yeah.
So I just wonder how that messaging has gotten a foothold. Do you have an idea? Is it just the absolute hatred for Trump that has resulted in this kind of reaction?
Now, that question makes me think of a movie, Will Ferrell movie, where he gets really drunk. A movie called Old School, and
love that film.
He's going back, and one of the lines is, "I like you, but you're crazy." That's what most American people are saying about Democrats right now. I may like you, but you're crazy. These are the same people who are telling you that we have a king in Washington, D.C., are also the same people who can't define a woman and think men can have babies. They're saying like, I might like you, but you're crazy. Mm-hmm. We have Republicans who are trying to keep the government open. You have Republicans who are trying to pay our service members, Republicans who are trying to pay our federal law enforcement officers, Republicans who are trying to take care of women and infants in need, Republicans who are trying to pay we voted to pay our air traffic controllers, and the list goes on and on and on. And Democrats in the Senate have voted, I think, 11 times at this point to keep the government closed. And they're making this about something completely else. They're trying to bring back Bidenflation. They have a $1.5 trillion wish list that they refuse to negotiate on while we keep the government open, continuing to keep the American people hostage. Again, you know what? We had our No Kings protest last November when 77 million of us voted to put President Trump, won the popular vote, over 300 electoral college votes. That is what happens in a constitutional republic. We elected a leader who would put our needs first. We elected a leader who would put America first. We elected a leader who would make America great again. And within less than a year, we have things like no tax on tips. We have a secure border. We have peace in the Middle East increasingly. And this is just the first year, Michelle. So I wish that our fellow Americans would come together and recognize that we are seeking a more perfect union. And we're doing what we can to make life better for everyone, lowering prescription drug costs, increasing transparency, having a military that can fight and win our nation's wars, to lower energy costs by making sure that we have an all-above energy approach, making sure that parental rights are above reproach and they cannot be impugned by the government. The list goes on and on and on. But again, the same crowd who's chanting in the streets, no kings, really, frankly, has been the reason why Democrat numbers are crating is people can't trust them with common sense. And that's a problem.
That is a problem for them. You mentioned a couple things there. The military, number one. Pete Hegseth was a very controversial nominee, but he is now the Secretary of War. The Department of War has now been renamed. What do you make of that name change from Department of Defense to Department of War? First of all, some people find it, too aggressive.
Well, as someone who's been to war is aggressive. War is very aggressive. War is the last resort. The first resort is you use economic means to bring your adversaries to the table. You use diplomatic means to bring them to their senses. And then as a very, very last resort, you use your military to bring them to their knees. The purpose of the military is to kill people and break things. Full stop. And unless we are prepared to do that efficiently, then America will always be under threat. That is the way of the world, and that is how we know that we need to stay safe. Now, of course, America is the most generous nation there's ever been. We give billions upon billions of dollars away, even to people who hate us. We recognize the great role that we play and the great obligation that we have as a beacon of hope, as the shiny sitting on a hill. But we will not be taken advantage of, and we will not be weak on the world stage. When Biden was in office, every time he left this country, it was open season on America. But with Trump in office, I'm sorry, has anybody heard from Iran in a while?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Americans can walk around proud. We can walk around safe. And it starts with our strength at home. I really appreciated Secretary Hegseth in his most recent address to the leadership of the military. And among the first things he led with was taking care of the soldiers, airmen, Marine, and sailors, number one, and then supply chain. Making sure that we have a manufacturing base here that's capable of projecting that power all over the world. We learned this way back with Hannibal, Napoleon, and even in World War II. What broke the Nazis' spirit in World War II toward the end of the war was not that we had more bullets, but there are stories of Nazi prisoners of war who were saying that we were struggling to eat and the Americans were sharing cake and ice cream, celebrating Christmas. The Americans' ability to project that power, the American military might, is right here at home in my district, right here in Michigan. The arsenal of democracy is part of projecting that power. So that's a long explanation because I'm fairly passionate about protecting America and keeping America strong as a West Point graduate, as an Apache pilot, as a combat veteran, and somebody who's actually been to war. But I think there's a lot in a name. And by changing that one name, I think it returns the focus on the purpose of the Pentagon. And that was sorely needed.
And how do you regard, I hear you saying that Pete Hegseth, you liked that address that he gave. There were people who criticized it. There were, but you represent a different, voice in all of this. You're people who are criticizing it seems to me to be a lot of people on the outside, from more and more military people, active and veteran. I heard complimentary stuff. How has he done? How's recruiting going? How prepared are we? What kind of shape is our military in?
Well, I would say that after 4 years under Biden, we're starting well. Our recruiting numbers are coming up. Secretary Hegseth is talking to everyone, not just the generals, but I hear that he's talking to enlisted. He believes that no one has monopoly on the truth. Secretary Hegseth, is a storyteller himself, has gone on and he has made his previous career going and talking to everyone, trying to find the truth and not looking at any one source of it. And that is why he's able to move so quickly. I've spoken with people in the administration who have a laser focused, without getting tunnel vision, on what it's going to take to make sure that our service members have the resources that they need to fight, win our nation's wars, and come back home safely. Again, the two things that he was focused on in all of my conversations was on taking care of service members and fixing our supply chain. Again, we have a long way to go after what we were left with the Biden administration, but making sure that we are able to sustain the fight and then make sure that we're prepared to fight the wars of the future. When you see the changing nation of war, the changing nature of war, we could find ourselves in a World War I style stalemate if we do not retain and maintain the technological edge on the battlefield and maintain our air supremacy, and also make sure that we can project our power with our Navy. The Secretary of War is also working into the new frontiers, making sure that we are able to integrate space and cyber into the new way of fighting.
So important.
America needs to focus on the things that will keep us safe. We've been lulled into a false sense of security. And Secretary Hegseth, who's been to war, recognizes the great investment and sacrifice that's required, and he's going to make that sacrifice on the front end so that my sons don't have to make the sacrifice in the future.
It's amazing that we've been lulled there, given that it just doesn't, 9/11 doesn't feel that long ago to me. But, and then, you look at October 7th, and I remember people saying, could that happen here? And it's like, well, it already did. It happened on 9/11. I don't know how people can not see domestic safety period as the number one obligation of the government. Now, I don't want to run out of time. I want to get to you running for governor of Michigan.
Oh, but we're having so much fun.
I know, but this is going to be fun too. This is going to be fun too, because I think, you clearly demonstrate such leadership. I hear people talk about Gretchen Whitmer in positive ways, and then she was in the Oval Office and she held a magazine in front of her face, or a folder. She didn't want to be seen there, whatever. So I have very mixed feelings about this person, but that's neither here nor there. You are running on the Republican side. Do you have the Republican nomination, or do you have opposition at this point?
Well, I'm super excited. It was just reported recently, just last week, that I'm the favorite in Michigan
I saw
to
that.
win the election.
Yeah.
And but you know what? You know the last thing we're going to do. The last thing we're going to do is kick our feet up because we had a saying in combat: complacency kills. We're going to continue to get out there to listen before we lead. We're going to continue to go out there and hear folks' concerns, how we can meet their needs. And the need is great, Michelle. We have education issues. We're 44th out of 50 in education. We have housing issues. We have a housing crisis all over the state of Michigan. Michigan is growing at the second slowest rate in the union. We're 49th out of 50 in terms of population growth. Detroit, our largest city, 1 out of every 2 children is in poverty, not poor, not scraping by, poverty. 1 out of 2 children in Detroit. Also in Detroit, only 13% of third graders can read at grade level.
It's
We have a
unacceptable.
situation in the state of Michigan where we don't have the time for an experiment. We need experience. And when you talk about preparing for crises that are coming, I don't know, maybe having a combat veteran, the commander in chief of the Michigan National Guard, would be a good start. When you're talking about bringing economic development and making sure that people's personal economy is doing well, maybe the walking result of the American dream, someone whose father came from the Jim Crow South to Michigan for better opportunities, and now as a result was able to grow his family business, creating hundreds of jobs and growing the family business larger and being able to help the community. Maybe having someone being an executive of the state should be able to tell that story and understand some of the weight that our large, small, and everything business in between are facing. Maybe when you have a state that has 40% of its budget coming from the feds, having someone who's deployed to Washington, D.C., and will make sure that Michigan's the first to the trough and not continuously the last, and someone who won't shade their face when they go ask the president for things. Maybe that might be a start. Michigan is also a battleground state, and I want to be very careful, and I want you to hear this very carefully. Battleground states in midterms have an outsized role in determining not only the leadership in their state, but also the leadership in Washington, D.C. When you look at past midterms, even as recently as the last one, when we have a weak or a toxic top of ticket, when we have people who bring the rest of the Republican ballot down, then we jeopardize Senate seats and House seats that we should have won. We saw that in Pennsylvania. We saw that in Arizona. But we saw the opposite in New York, a blue state, to be sure. New York, a blue state. You had Lee Zeldin, who ran a strong race and was able to pull 5 Republicans across the finish line in districts that Biden won. That was the difference in the 118th Congress. That was the difference for our republic. Because we were able to do that in the 118th, we were the bulwark against crazy in Washington, D.C. We would have had Puerto Rico in a D.C. and 4 additional senators for Democrats in D.C. We would have had open borders and amnesty codified. We would have had a stuffed and packed Supreme Court under Chuck Schumer. But because we had a strong top of ticket in New York in a blue state, we were able to protect the republic long enough to make sure that we could get our President Trump in office. We have the same opportunity here. Michigan is a much better environment. Michigan has gone from Democrat to Republican, and now we're up historically. You have an issue set where people trust Republicans, and what we are focused on is economic mobility, public safety, government accountability, wellness, and academic excellence. These are things that people trust Republicans on. And so Michigan is a much better situation. We're already leading the top of ticket. And so I'm excited to make sure that we can take our positive message, a vision for purpose for the future of Michigan that will also massively benefit holding our seats in both the House and the Senate after the midterm.
I want to ask you an obvious question here. You talked about your dad coming from the Jim Crow South. I've experienced this directly. That there are a lot of people with your background and your skin color who find it difficult, find it challenging to be on the Republican side. What are the challenges that you've faced in that regard?
Frankly, the biggest challenges that I face in that regard are from people who look like me. And it is challenging because if I'm to be honest, in the past, Democrats have taken African Americans for granted, and Republicans in the past hadn't even tried. But recently, under President Trump, not only did he come to Detroit 8 years ago and say, "What do you have to lose?" And not only did he come to Detroit and deliver on his promises, where we had the most economic gains for African Americans, not just for African Americans, but for everyone around the country before the pandemic. But President Trump has increased those numbers because he's focused on things like making our economy stronger again, bringing our jobs back home. Just recently, General Motors said they're going to put an additional $2 billion back into the state of Michigan, and Stellantis is bringing $14 billion back to the country, and a lot of that is coming into the state of Michigan as well. These are jobs that are going to benefit all Americans, but particularly African Americans who are working hard each and every single day. These are jobs that had left our communities and had gone to places like Mexico and China, and President Trump's bringing them back. So people aren't dumb. You also have the First Step Act. You also have opportunity zones where you look at the incarceration rates, addressing second chances for people, and addressing recidivism, and giving people a different and better shot at life. You also have opportunity zones where economic growth, small businesses will be able to thrive in areas that have been disinvested in the past. And this is something that's very, very important, particularly when you have people who are overwhelmingly in a cash-based economy who need more of their own hard cash back in their pockets. When you talk about things Republicans stand for, like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, making sure that you can keep more of your own tax dollars. These are fundamentally conservative ideas and ideals that work. They work everywhere they've been tried. And so you can just see it. The proof's in the pudding. You look at blue states run by Democrat governors and cities, and people are leaving. Yeah. And then you look at red states that are being led by Republicans, and people are going to those places. You look at inner cities run and controlled by Democrats for decades, and people are struggling to make ends meet. Yeah. People are struggling with their schools. They're struggling with their healthcare. They're struggling with their jobs. And so when you look at this, they're struggling with violence. Detroit is top, I think, 2 or 3 in violent homicides, rapes. And this doesn't benefit African Americans or anyone. So, like I said, I think that Democrats in the past had taken the African American vote for granted, but Republicans hadn't tried. And I think that President Trump and the Republican Party is reaching out to each and every single American, regardless of your race, your color, your creed, or how you voted in the past. I'm looking forward to going back home where I was raised, where my business is, and talking to my brothers and sisters. And you know what? My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ was rejected. Who do I think I am? But I still have to show up. I still have to listen. I still have to work. And I truly believe that if you do all the right things, that's how you earn trust. And I think the people in the state of Michigan, regardless of their race, regardless of where they come from, deserve a governor who cares about them.
You're a great candidate. I don't consider myself, when I do these interviews, to be, I like to ask questions that matter, but I'm also going to tell you what I think. And I think Governor John James sounds pretty damn good from where I'm sitting. And I'm sitting in one of those blue states. I don't know if you know this. I'm in Minnesota, and it's dire. So we only hope we can have a candidate that like you, but I don't know. John James,
Michelle, Michigan will welcome you with open arms. Fellow Great Lakes state, Michigan will welcome you with open arms.
I appreciate that. He is Congressman John James. What's the website, real quick?
JohnJamesMI.com. That's JohnJamesMI.com, or you can follow me on the socials, John James MI.
John James MI, as in Michigan. That's the little MI stands for Michigan. Right. Okay. Congressman, great to see you. Thank you so much. I always end every podcast saying be brave and do good. And you have done both of those things in droves. And we wish you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. You're awesome. God bless.
You can keep up with the Trump administration when you subscribe to the Trump Report. It's an email that brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week. Subscribe today at SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump.